Or maybe, but not today. Eliminate anyone who gets in our way.
Except my progeny.
There is no barrier we cannot overcome. It wasn't supposed to be like this.
Hello and good evening here on this Thursday, December 22nd, 2022, the 19th episode of Prodigy's first season, Star Trek Prodigy. Supernova Part 1 has been released, but we are just getting started here on Live Long and Podcast for our breakdown and review. I'm Dave Mader, and I'm joined with a couple of elves here to help bring in this this Christmas cliffhanger, if you will. We got the Vindicator, or the Deadviner himself, Davan.
Spoiler alert.
Yes. Spoilers ahoy.
My
Here,
progeny.
my progeny. The progeny is now an orphany. And then we also have Jessica Chan with us tonight. How are you doing tonight, Jessica?
Hello, I'm good.
Yes.
I have thoughts.
Yes, and you know, we're breaking down a two-parter here, as we did earlier this year, a year ago almost, when we talked about a moral star, part 1 and part 2.
Was this part 1?
This is part 1. So we have.
I didn't notice that part. Okay,
Yes.
crazy.
So there's a sequel to come here in this two-parter. And so yeah, like, let's talk about how we reacted to this episode and maybe what stood out. Let's go to Davan first. Davan.
Does this two-parter end the season?
Yes.
It
Oh,
feels
Michael
like
Chan with us in the comments. He has
No,
thoughts.
Michael Chan has thoughts.
And he was like, what's with the start the show already? Well, we had some technical difficulties, Michael. Davan was hearing statics and buzzes awry, so we were trying to solve those things. I don't know if we ever did there, but he's saying
Whether there was technical difficulties or there's something more serious than that going on.
with this space buzz.
Mostly with me.
And do we call in Ontario? Do we call the day before Christmas Eve something?
Sam wants to talk about Tibbs. We don't get time for that right now, Sam. We talked about Tibbs on my last show.
Tibbs?
Tibbs.
Don't get him started.
Okay.
They call it Christmas Eve something in Newfoundland. Okay, get with the program, D-man. Okay, well, we got it. We got. How did you not know that this ends the season?
Oh, because I rely on Dave for those types of things. Michael C.W. Chan.
Is he from the CW? Or is he on the CW?
Who knows?
No, that's his initial. That's his middle name.
Oh, CW is his name.
This is a good first half to what seems like it's going to be a good Star Trek two-parter. I liked this episode. I liked seeing these things.
All the ships. Yeah, we got some ship porn, if you will, in this episode, and we'll break that down in our screenshots. Jessica, what are your thoughts on this on this episode?
I mean, I thought like it was visually cool, and I liked the teamwork, but like, as always with these things, it's just kind of frustrating that pretty much everything they've done up to this point was totally pointless. It accomplished nothing. Last episode accomplished nothing. Like, it was inevitable. So like, really, the whole season didn't matter. It's like,
yeah, well,
frustrating
for their character growth. Their character growth was the journey.
Yes, that was the part. But like, in terms of them trying so hard to prevent it, it just didn't matter at all, which was frustrating.
Right.
Surprising though.
Well, they're also trying to prevent.
I didn't see that coming.
They're like the Vindicator and now the Deadviner, but their plan was to change the timeline, right? Like to change history. So we'll see.
Which they must have failed because Gwen still exists.
Yeah,
right?
because that would create a paradox. If you change the past, like then Gwen would cease to exist. But yeah, that would be something to play out here. Yeah, I'm not quite sure. And Chakotay is yet to go through the temporal vortex, and the protostar is out there somewhere, right? So all of that. But like I don't the timey-wimey of it all. If they
in branch timeline theory, that's all fine because those incursions into space time just created a branch universe that has a Gwen. So Gwen's still there. But then you can just return to your original changed timeline, if you believe in that sort of thing.
Well, yeah, like Star Trek's been all over the place with its time travel, and its time changing of the past and what matters and what doesn't. But yeah, it was just like, but if the protostar doesn't go back in time, then how can it infect the fleet in the first place to prevent this first contact? And I don't know. I'm not an expert in temporal mechanics.
Go back and watch Endgame. The Hulk explains it perfectly.
Yeah, Endgame, the Voyager finale, or Endgame, the Avengers.
No, the Avengers one, the Hulk. He explains it perfectly.
Yeah, I get you. So those time travel rules, which is kind of similar to this other show I've been watching called Peripheral. Have you guys seen that show at all?
No.
It's with Hit Girl from Kick-Ass. What's her name?
Chloe Moretz.
That's it.
Chloe Moretz, yeah.
And and it's interesting. They're dealing with time travel stuff, but you can't actually change the past. It creates divergent timelines and stuff. And I won't spoil it any more than that, but
I seem to recall a few years ago there was actually someone who did the math on it, like for real, not like on a show. And he explained that time is self-correcting. So like you couldn't really change the past. It'll just kind of naturally flow back to whatever it was going to do in the first place. And that's why time travel is possible. I seem to remember some guy calculated. I don't know how you calculate that stuff, but...
Well, the Vulcan Science Directory always says time travel is impossible, but who are they to say? I know I've got that somewhere in the recent clips. Where is he? Yeah.
Our science directorate has determined that time travel is impossible.
So let's run through the episode shots. Of course, it's the first part of Supernova. There was no Supernova in this part. So I'm assuming that's leading up to something else that we're coming up to. It could have to do with the protostar having a small star inside of its core, and maybe that will go supernova. I'm a little curious. But written by Aaron McNamara is the writer of this particular episode, and directed by Andrew Schmidt. So yeah, let's break it in. And we start off here with where we left off the last episode. Basically, the protostar surrounded by a not so welcome wagon of Starfleet vessels. And Janeway's in the brig because Dal was in her body for all the last episode, and it kind of hurt her cred with the crew. We see this young ensign, security officer who's been assigned to guard her. I thought it was interesting that we'll find out that this is actually one of the refugees from many years ago. Is this episode
one of my favorite episodes?
Is it Counterpoint?
I love that episode. It is Counterpoint.
Yeah, where all
that guy, he's hilarious.
Yeah, and but
Kashyyyk.
at this point, Kashyyyk, and all that. Yeah, it's a good episode. And yeah, that she's one of the Brunali. Is it Brunali's? Refugees that she helped escape in that episode.
So she's a telepath because they persecuted telepaths.
Right. It was like telepath minority in this species, and they were persecuted, and that was kind of
funny. She doesn't mention that here, and they could have, but they probably didn't want to get into the backstory of it. But she could read Janeway's mind to tell us she was telling the truth.
True. Yeah, depending on her level of power, her telepathic powers.
Can I just say this episode is a huge ups and downs of animation for me? Like Janeway's face always gets real derpy whenever they have her talk. And I don't like the animation then.
I feel like because the only thing they did to show that she's aged is make her face puffy for some reason. Like not wrinkles, they just made her slightly puffier in the jaw.
And gave her that gray streak.
Yes, I don't know why they went that route. But
this is only 6 or 7 years after the events of Voyager, the show ending. So it's a bit curious. She's not that much older than when we last saw her, but
one thing I like about the animation in this show is the ships, and there's tons of that.
There's tons of that. Ships look good, and
gorgeous.
Some of the characters I like more than others, and sometimes these characters look better. But yeah, I'd say that when Janeway's talking, sometimes I'm like, ugh, that doesn't look good.
But hologram Janeway looks fine, so that's why I think. Yeah, so I think it's the aging. That's what they messed up because she looks great.
Yeah.
So it's just a weird choice of how they choose to show the age between the two. It's just odd.
Yeah, I guess maybe that's what it's throwing me off. But anyway, she's been brought back online here, and she sees that the living construct is going to infect things, and so they can't answer the hails. They're still in this thing, and they're like, "Well, don't worry, Admiral Janeway will explain everything." And Dal explains, "Well, yeah, I might have made her not so." Left her in such a good place. They probably won't believe anything she says. He's kind of a summary. And we see Commander Tisus here in command of the what's the ship called? The Dauntless. And and good old Jellicoe, Admiral Jellicoe on the horn saying, you better take over the ship. Get it done.
Yeah, Johnny should have said. I can't believe they didn't have him say that.
My question with this whole scene was frustrating. Was why does Essentia have so much power? Just some ensign waltzing around the bridge telling everybody what to do, and they're like, "Yeah, you do that." Like she's an ensign.
Yeah, it's weird that Tisus is okay with this. And she's like, "Hey, can I take an away team over to the Pro Star?" And he's like, "Yes, do that yesterday. I love it." So, is that Vlad? And he's like, "Okay, go do it. Go do what the Admiral said." And so,
now all of a sudden she does evil smirks when she walks away. She didn't do that before.
Yeah.
Well, you got to indicate,
evil.
Yeah, it's just this is frustrating. It's like young Wesley or like Harry Kim just waltzing around the bridge and telling everyone what to do. Like, why would that be okay? Very strange.
At least Harry is the most competent one on the bridge and saves them time and time again.
True,
but
yeah.
But in order to board the Protostar, they have to get its shields down. So we see the Dauntless firing here on the Protostar, and they're like, "Uh-oh, we can't get out of here." I think they're like, "We're gonna hot wire the ship." Is their plan here? And they're getting Jank and Pog on things. Yeah, they're like, "We're running." Right? Yeah, he's like, "I can't get the Protostar drive going without something." So they're trying to get him down here, but he's like, "I like this," or he's like, "I can fix it," and he's on. I like Jank and Pog. I'm a fan of this character, but as a chief engineer, anyway. So they're getting fired up on some more here. Zero's trying to figure out how to get out, and then they start just flying around. This is where the ship is just flying around all the ships. It was hard to get screenshots of this stuff because it's very you're seeing it from the camera point of view. Although I liked some of this animation here. They're mostly just we see how the Protostar is just this really, really small ship. Almost can see it in comparison there to the Defiant. Davan.
Some real slick maneuvering. It's even smaller than the Defiant, I would say, by quite a bit.
Yeah, it's maybe the same length.
It does that slick move where it just kind of pulls up and backs right off, like stuff you could do in space and stuff. I like that they had it do more.
What did Jacob call his move? The
Dipsy Doodle.
Dipsy Doodle.
The slippery Dipsy Doodle.
We'll see it.
Yeah, but the fact that the ship is so small makes it so maneuverable amongst these bigger ships, and avoiding their things. Although I was like, these are really bad targeting with their phasers here, but it's all right. And so they're trying to get away here. They're just flying around, trying to, I guess, kill time is what they were trying to do throughout all of this until they could figure out the next thing.
Someone even shot a phaser at them or a torpedo at them, and that misses. But it's when you see it, it's following them.
Oh yeah, and that's right. And this is the part in the episode where Dal's like, "Don't worry, guys, we're gonna get through this, and then we can join Starfleet Academy and join Starfleet." And then this is where Gwyn, the information she learned from Janeway last episode that because Dal is a human augment, he would be not permitted in Starfleet. So Gwyn quickly changes the subject here when Rock Talk brings it up. And they're like, they kind of cover, although she will explain this to him shortly after. So we see here, the Protostar is flying by the windows of the Dauntless and the other ships that are present, continuing this thing. We see, I think that's the Centaur there.
My question is, did they need to be? So I guess we haven't gotten there yet. Do they need to be in proximity of the ship for it to, or for this to work, or if they fly away now, it would have been fine. but but once it's open, will it infect? Like, if those infected ships hail another ship, will they?
Yeah, it's like a virus.
Catch the virus. So even after that, if they manage to get away, it wouldn't matter, right? Like it wouldn't.
No, the damage is done as soon as one of these ships is infected.
Okay.
That was its whole end game, is to infect like the entire Federation through that.
Right. And it might succeed. That was kind of the cliffhanger we're left with.
It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, Jank and Pog getting things going. They're just killing time here until they can get their proto drive going, is sort of the plan. But they get fired upon some more here. Different, yeah.
These ships. These ships.
You know, Janeway talking to the young ensign here, the Bernali. She's like, "You don't know me. You don't know anything about me." She's like, "You're wrong, Admiral. I do know you. You saved me once in that episode."
I love this scene because I love that episode. So
yeah, it's a good episode. I was like, "What a callback!"
Extra points.
And it's actually, I got a DVD set many years ago. It was called like The Captains, and it was like amongst that DVD set was each captain's like favorite episode of their own, and Kate Mulgrew's favorite episode is Counterpoint of her.
Great. Music's great in it.
Yeah. And so she's like, "Remember, I do know you. I was one of those people." And then she lets her out of the cell here, and she's like, "You're not crazy. I can see that." And then gives her the comm badge. And she's like, "All right, now I can get back to work."
I wondered with. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just like, why didn't Tysus come down here and talk to her at all?
I don't. I was also wondering with this scene. I was like, it was a way for her to get out of the bridge, but I was like, well, because Essentia is obviously gone now. So is this they're like setting up the replacement for her? Here's another female ensign. We'll just slot her in next time.
What was William Shatner's favorite episode of his own? I can't recall, actually. It wouldn't be Assignment Earth, though, I don't think. But maybe I'm wrong. But
I haven't been too impressed with that Tysus as a first officer as of yet.
No, he's no Chakotay.
No. Chakotay's a great first officer, man.
In comparison, yes. Yeah, so more of the Protostar flying around. You can see the Defiant. Defiant is the next smallest ship, and so it kind of gets on its tail here, Davan, and is like pursuing them. And we get some interesting shots of that. This isn't just it's not even just a Defiant. It's the Defiant is here.
So who's piloting it? I wonder who's in charge of the Defiant at this part.
Yeah, that's so amazing. I mean, it's probably like what, Kira?
Maybe Kira
on mission still.
Yeah, like it depends. Like where things are left on Deep Space Nine at the end of that show is unclear. Like Kira,
definitely whoever's there leading the Starfleet side. So like,
I guess Esri. So I don't know. It's not O'Brien. At the end of Deep Space Nine, O'Brien leaves.
He leaves.
So does Sisko obviously leaves, and Worf leaves, and so who's left? You got Bashir and Esri and
E19. No, he died.
And Kira. Kira's not.
It'd be good. I mean, if it comes into play, Bashir would be good because he isn't a fellow augment that was allowed in Starfleet. So that would
that would be an interesting tie-in if they bring in Sadig El Fadil or Alexander Sadig or whatever name he goes by now.
That'd be amazing.
Yeah, if they can bring him into the show, that would be cool because he does have that story of he was the one exception that we know of that was allowed into Starfleet. Anyway, so yeah, they're like
excited to see the Defiant. Yes.
This is where Gwyn's like, I'm gonna go give us a fighting chance, and so she's planning to like fly over and stop things, and Dal tries to stop her, and she's like, no, I have to give us a fighting chance. So she's trying to do the whole like sacrifice move here, and so Dal follows her as she's getting ready for her assault. And so she's dwelling on this information about how Dal being an augment isn't going to be allowed in Starfleet, but she's talking about some of the things she says to him here are a bit ambiguous, so it's kind of misinterpreted. The moment gets misinterpreted, guys, and we end up here with a big smooch.
Uh-oh.
So what was your reaction, Jessica, to this?
I kind of got distracted for a second, then I looked up and I was like, "Whoa, what's happening?" Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
It was
She wasn't
kinda
expecting it. She didn't think it was a moment. Davin, what were your thoughts on this?
I was glad just because there was the whole will they won't they thing sort of with those two. And I don't
Yeah.
like when things just bubble under the surface too long like that, because then it's just like, get on with it. So I'm glad they moved that plot along, because that one had simmered long
but
enough.
she kind of shuts him down though, so and we
She's
don't
like,
really know
Does.
we don't know if that's because she really wants to tell him or she doesn't feel it or it's not the time.
yeah, it
I
was a
don't
little.
think she feels it, but who knows?
I thought that they do. They
That's
at least
pretty
have
much.
a strong bond, these two, and
Sure.
but is it romantic? I don't know. They keep flirting with it, but it's hard to say. Like, so I guess will they? Won't they? Whichever one it is, decide.
It's just prison respect, like O'Brien and Echar.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Is this just prison respect? You know.
Yeah.
Anyway, so she tells him no. So it quickly becomes not about this kiss. It becomes about, oh, your dream of joining Starfleet is
It's like, way to kick him when he's down. I rejected you. I don't want you to kiss me. Also, by the way,
by the
just
way.
crush your dream after that, all that too.
Yeah. So she's like, they're there. But so this battle continues. The protostar continuing to be hammered by phaser fire.
A couple of those new ships we saw last time too, with the
Yeah.
really wide nacelles.
With the Centaur and a few of the other ones.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the Centaur. Mm.
Yeah, we're gonna see more of that. Don't worry. There's lots of ship shots.
What's that one on the right? The big long
This one?
up higher. Yeah, what's that
Oh,
one?
that's an Akira.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
It's not as long as you think. It just looks kind of long in that angle, but
Oh, yeah, because it looks like a cruise ship in the shot.
yeah, it's kind of just it's not a great image of it, but yeah, I'll point that out from another angle you hear. But basically, like Dal's like, well, now I have nothing to live for. I can't join Starfleet, but you can, so I can be the one to sacrifice myself, you know, and do that. Meanwhile, Essentia heading to her boarding party mission with these two guys. And then she just activates.
Looks like a shot out of Star Trek Online there of right there. That looks right out of the video game.
Yeah, and this transporter room looks a lot like what we saw in Discovery, too, in sort of like its design. It's an interesting looking transporter room. Yeah, but Essentia effectively activates her Vindicator DNA thing, and right before her eyes, she turns into the Vindicator. I was like, why did she choose this moment?
Yeah, I thought that too. I was like, wouldn't it have just made sense to not do
over?
that? But does she give extra strength from like when she unveils herself? Like, are they supposed to be super strong or something? Maybe that's why.
Maybe, but yeah. So they're just like, "What? Who are you?" And then she just starts like fighting them and knocking them out. They should have known from those non-uniform code boots that she just got kicked in the head. We don't need
And gloves. What is
gloves.
this?
Yeah, what is this?
That's an expedition in Antarctica or something. This is a Starfleet ship.
Yeah, exactly. That's why we have uniforms, guys. So we know the imposters. So let's always remember. Anyway,
and who's going to die?
Yeah, and then I guess she also needed to beam over with Dreadnought and Diviner. So I guess that's why they chose this moment. So and Dreadnought just judo chops this guy and he goes down. Boom. Judo chop. Anyway, and then they're like, okay, but like let's get anybody who gets in our way.
Eliminate anyone who gets in our way.
Except my progeny. She's one of us.
Of course.
Of course. My progeny.
He's my progeny.
Yeah, they beam over and they're starting to get ready for the fight. And I think, intruder alert. So the bad guys are here and they're messing around. And
Wait a minute. Go back. Remember how huge Diviner was compared to like other people?
Diviner?
Yeah, that shot of the Davan. Yeah, right there. Remember, he's like 2 feet taller than like any Starfleet officer, and she's just as tall as him now. But Essentia wasn't.
Wasn't that tall, so maybe she grew in height when she changed her genetics.
Didn't look like it though.
Yeah, like I don't
Butthole.
know, like it might just be this angle too, but yeah, he is tall, but even Dreadnought's even taller. He doesn't even, his head can't even fit in the shot. Yeah,
There he is.
Jankum Pog very short in comparison to most people. So yeah, there's kind of like this fight with him, the Protostar here, a phaser fight. They they're just going at him. They're avoiding some phasers here. That continues. And then Dreadnought goes into full like tactical mode here, to take on the crew or the Protostar. And this is where they'll ultimately not do so well. Yeah, he can block. I forgot that he could block phasers with his thing. He's going at them.
Make him out to be pretty formidable in this.
Yeah. Yeah, and so they're even Rock Talk being strong here, but they're trying. They fought a Dreadnought before, so they're not completely out of their depth here. But meanwhile, the Diviner and the Vindicator are going around the ship while that's distracted, and then they run into Hologram Janeway. That's a quick one for them to say, I'm Ensign Essentia. Take off the holo emitters, and they're like, see you never. All right, bye Hologram Janeway. Meanwhile, Gwyn kind of hiding here behind the column, and ultimately as they're like, now we will get our revenge on the Starfleet, and so they're fighting Dreadnought some more here while this is all happening. Yeah, like how Jankobog shoots the phaser and he's like more just annoyed by the phaser. And he takes out Jankobog. And then he throws the gravity bomb, or the gravity mine, which I thought was I don't think, have we ever seen anything like this before, Davan? Like
Star-Lord has one.
Star-Lord, yeah, I guess in Star Trek specifically. I don't think it's a cool idea.
I don't think so.
It makes sense, like to use in a world where you have artificial gravity to weaponize that, to an extent.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, and so yeah, like
he knew what it was right away.
Yeah, they knew what it was, so they were familiar with this. And meanwhile, Dal's taking on Dreadnought, not doing so well. Zero pops in here, and he just Dreadnought just throws this like electrocution thing, and he's got an answer for everybody here. The Diviner is getting the ultimate construct going. He's ready to do some divining, and but something's going on with my progeny upstairs. I think. I think I sense my progeny. Anyway, Gwyn then confronts Essentia and says, you can't do that.
I'm the progeny.
Hey, don't hurt my progeny. We agreed when we were beaming over, you would not hurt the progeny. She's one of us. But Essentia doesn't necessarily care about that. We see also like this energy that they're able to activate sometimes, Jessica, with like the bright blue.
Yeah, like have they done that before? I don't think so. Or have they explained what it does? Oh no, I think it's controlling the whatever the connection to that thing is. To
the weapon, right? The heirloom weapon. Yeah, which with Essentia has her own, and Gwyn has the one that belonged to the Diviner. I guess he gave it to her. It's the heirloom. Yeah, and so they're having like a little bit of a sword fight here. That goes on. They're very kind of matched in skill. I don't know what was Dreadnought trying to kill him. Oh yeah, and then Murph pops into the fight here.
He's the security officer. He should have been there earlier.
Yeah, he was sleeping on the job. But yeah, he's this was fun. Murph doing his different moves, kicking Dreadnought,
spanking his butt.
Oh yeah,
I got that. This is all intercut with the fight between Essentia and Gwyn. She even gets like the little cut in on her face here, or along her eye. Oh, how dare you get me, progeny? Murph playing around here with Dreadnought. Sticking out his tongue at him, slapping his butt.
Murph's having a great time.
He just hits him with a
Anyways.
cold blast. So this is Merc's
Yep.
weakness, I guess, is the cold blast. Even though he's indestructible, that's kind of his weakness.
For a second, I
Um,
thought he was just going to shatter, and I was going to be like, no!
That would be a devastating. And then
That
he
would've been
ultimately
dark.
gets Dal here with like the hook around the throat, which goes in the wall. So the whole crew, minus maybe Gwen, not doing all incapacitated at this particular moment.
Didn't take long.
I guess he's not all bad because it's not like he went back. He could have easily just killed all of them at this point. So,
You Dreadnought?
yeah, I mean, they're all incapacitated. You could just take him out.
Yeah. Well, why is he holding back? Yeah, I guess it's
How very Bond villain of him.
right. You know, we see
Just
here
the mustache a little.
more shots of these two fighting. We see some wide shots. Gwen's getting, almost having some fun with it. This one.
Getting her licks in there.
Getting her licks in, and then like Essentia goes into like full energy mode
Progeny.
here, progeny mode, and her weapon splits into two, and then she really starts taking the fight to Gwen in a more like ferocious manner, where Gwen's having a hard time like keeping up with it. And starting to lose, and then I don't know what Diviner was supposedly doing down here.
What is he doing?
What is he doing? Like the weapon's already armed. Like so.
Okay, maybe we'll find out in the next episode, and we're not supposed to know he's doing
Maybe,
something
but it was kind of a
mysterious,
mystery. While like this epic battle is happening up just in the upper level, he's just kind of like, "What? Is that my progeny? Hey, don't hurt my progeny."
He's down there making new progeny.
Yeah, and then she Vindicator Sensei here ends up taking Gwen as a hostage. He's like, "No, don't do it." She's like, "You need to help me. Open up a communications channel and release the weapon." So he starts doing that, heading that way, and then has a change of heart. He goes, "But the heirloom before it was Gwen's, it was mine." So he's able to he flips it at Essentia, but she just catches it, and then she flips it right back at him and kills him with it. Where she stabbed him with it, he'll die in the next few minutes. So and Gwen's no father. I was like, I don't know. I wasn't feeling too sad for him.
I felt like this show has always been really good and very efficient, but this kind of change from the Diviner was not fleshed out well. I think we saw that he had some sympathy for Janeway, but he still seemed, last we saw him, committed to the cause. Yeah. But now just to flop on it after how many 20 something years just seems a bit.
Well, yeah, I don't know. It is the Darth Vader redemption that we kind of mentioned. Like they were going to try to give him a little bit of redemption here, but I don't. Even in Darth Vader's case, I don't necessarily think it's a great redemption. He ultimately saves his son, Luke Skywalker at the end of Return of the Jedi, and throws the Emperor down the tube. But and this is kind of the same thing, but he's doing it because he's like, I love my progeny, not because he's had a change of heart or he sees the light or whatever. It's.
But he kind of does at this point, or I guess we're not quite there yet. But he says maybe you can unite them, find them, and make sure the Civil War doesn't happen, kind of thing. Which,
right.
That's a lot to put on a kid.
She's like, I don't know how to do that. He's like, there's nothing my progeny can't do. Don't worry.
Not my progeny.
Yeah. My progeny.
Right. So, just as Janeway gets to the bridge, though, this is where they're like, hey, she's like, hey, don't open communications with the Protostar. And she's like, hello. Now I will watch the Federation burn like I watched your planet go down. And we see the ultimate construct, or is that what it's called? The living construct?
Living construct.
Yeah. And we see it spreads here. It does its little poof, and all the ships get the hit with the red wave, and they turn red. Their lights turn red. This is how we know they're infected.
As is, of course, tradition.
As is tradition. So there's a little bit of a moment here, but we know it's not good.
Those ships.
Look at all those ships, all in red mode. This is that one you were asking about before.
Yeah,
it's like the Thunderjaw.
It's definitely not as stretched out as it seemed on that one shot.
Thundershot or Kira. There's like one here and one here too. Let's see. The Dauntless is infected, and it's not looking good. There's kind of like this moment, like Sensius giving them the thing.
It's a good looking ship.
It takes a minute here. Yeah, there's the Centaur. That one with the
yeah.
cells. Yeah. And then the ships turn on each other, and then they start firing, and we see the devastation, and people are dying in these moments. The casualties.
That one almost looks like a an
Sovereign
Enterprise. Yeah, an Enterprise E there. Well,
yeah, that's like the same class as the Enterprise E, Sovereign class. The USS Sovereign will show up later in the episode. It's the one that shows up, which we can presume was the first of its class. And so, and here's another shot of this Thunderchild, more close up, or sometimes called the Kira class. They're kind of
it's an Akira class. The Thunderchild is just this one I have here. This is the USS
Thunderchild. What's the difference between the Thunderchild and an Akira? Like a Thunderchild is just longer or something.
I don't think there is a difference.
It's just a variant.
I just think it's the name of one of the Akira classes.
Yeah, in Star Trek Online, they're kind of interchangeable. There's Akira and there's Alita and there's Thunderchild, and they're a little bit different, but they're not that different. And we see the actual Defiant, here. And anyway, so I like this in this next scene. This is where they're all the crew, Dal and Rock Talk and all of them. They're all trapped still from their thing with Dreadnought. And so, they have to do some problem solving here, And so ultimately it's Rock Talk who look at the big brain on the Brickar, where she's like, give me your tool, Jankum. And she's able to use the fire from his tool to thaw out Murph. And then once Murph's thawed out, he can help Zero and take off this item. Hey,
this is the Prometheus, but they had some of those in that shot with the pointy nose.
I think you're right. Actually, I'm pretty sure I saw
there.
I think we saw a California class come in at the end too. I'm gonna Yeah, I think a California
class doing in a fight like that.
Well, they were showing up to help, to give aid. And then he throws the weapon here at the gravity mine, and he's able to take it a quick little bit of teamwork here from the team. Now
teamwork makes the dream work.
Teamwork makes the dream work. Anyway, and so then up here on the bridge, they confront Essentia and Dreadnought with the Diviner dying, and they're like, "Well, we don't have time to deal with this. So anyway, stop what you're doing." The Vindicator. I can't. They're like, well, you're gonna pay for this. She's like,
oh, maybe, but not today.
I like her way better than the Diviner.
She's a better villain than the Diviner, yeah. So I am enjoying. I agree with you on that. Yeah, I'm like, I'm ready for him to move on and see where because little less history with her, but you understand how committed and how vindicated she seems to be. Anyway, so she escapes here inside the Dreadnought pod that forms, and just pops out of the top of the bridge, which of course creates a hull breach and vacuum of space. So they're holding on, but that seals up relatively quickly, fortunately for them. And after that, they kind of they deal here with the Diviner. I'm sorry, dying. And he this line was kind of like stood out to me.
It wasn't supposed to be like this.
It was supposed to be exactly like this. This is exactly what you did and planned to do.
He sucks.
Yeah, I didn't really understand. Like, all of a sudden he seemed like shocked, like, oh, this is too much. I was like, you were so fully committed. You almost let your daughter die just like see it happen. And that wasn't like decades ago. That was what, like 2 months ago, maybe in this timeline.
Right. Yeah, and so she has this kind of Luke Skywalker goodbye to him, sort of thing, where and the crew's like, I guess this is sad that this guy who turned us into child slave labor is going out here. But I
think they're just sad for Gwen,
they're sad for
him.
Gwen. Yeah, and so he dies here. And then when he dies, he turns into energy guys for some reason. So interesting thing about their species, and we see this play out. Gwen doesn't really know a lot about her people or history or planet, so she's not totally expecting this. But
Now that she's an orphan, is this officially a Christmas episode?
Might be, yeah. Well, it's out just before Christmas, but she seems to like absorb that, right? The energy like goes into her, and so I was like, well, I feel like there's gonna be more to this in the future.
My power, my progeny is what he should have said.
Could we see like the diviner becoming part of her consciousness or something like that?
Right. That would be quite intrusive.
It would be, especially.
I guess it depends on how they. I mean, she's a clone of him, right? Or sort of like taken from.
Yeah.
So I guess that depends on how they would do that. It seemed like he created her. It wasn't like a birthing anything. So I guess maybe they're just rejoining whatever could be how it was that she was created in the first place, I guess.
Maybe, yeah. Like we'll see if we can find out more information or what her absorbing that is going to mean or not. Like I'm just curious, see what they'll do with that in the future. They end up getting hologram Janeway back online. She's like, "Hey, did everything work out?" Oh no! And then she kind of sees here all the ships tearing everything apart. They don't know what to do. Yeah, this is kind of worst case scenario. And then Jank and Pod
Ontario.
Yeah, can you start using words I understand, because the universal translators I think are what go out here next. Right? And the admiral's like, abandoned ship, but nobody understands her except maybe humans on the bridge would perhaps if they speak English. But yeah, Commander
She does call it standard.
She calls it standard. She doesn't say, good, you speak English.
Yeah, galactic standard.
So you speak standard. I guess Tysus doesn't speak standard. He speaks Andorian or some variation of that. So he's he was no help there. And then but good thing that Gwen has this backstory where she's a linguist. So he's here that we can't understand Rock Talk. Rock Talk's speaking that growly Brickar language, which apparently also Gwen can speak, which is handy. Please. She's like and then she can also speak Tellarite as well. And so she's going to go around. She's like, my father taught me to use languages to divide species. I'm going to use them to unite them. Novel idea. Get on here. Oh, good. You speak English. Do we all speak English? Just standard. Just standard. Yeah, as it's referred to.
I had this question. So like they're speaking standard, because I was watching Brave New Worlds, but then sometimes the Vulcans spoke Vulcan words with the standard. So what are we supposed to interpret that as them saying?
Yeah, because I'm like
extra Vulcan. They're speaking like really Vulcan that time.
They're speaking like the old Vulcan.
Yes.
So.
Yeah.
It's got an E on the end. So I don't know. Languages, everything like with the languages and only in Klingon does that seem to, in Vulcan sometimes I think you see that kind of thing.
I think they made a joke on that in Doctor Who. They're like, what if you speak if you speak the language when the thing is already translating for you? And I can't remember how it comes out. They're just like, bless you or something. I don't remember what it was.
English, but all of a sudden I throw like a French phrase into what I'm saying, like je ne sais quoi.
Like, well, if it's already translating to French from your English and then you say a French word, what does it do? I think I remember they got confused. I can't remember what language they always thought they were speaking.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, they're like, well, this is where Dal comes up with the idea, like, well, if it's only going to affect Starfleet ships, why don't we just call non-Starfleet people for help? Do you have any allies? Do you have any friends? She's like, well, wait, maybe this is a good idea. So,
friends are all in the Delta Quadrant.
Yeah, like my Brunaldi friends are all in the Delta Quadrant, except those who escaped. But yeah, let's try it out here. So then Gwyn takes the captain's chair. She said, Dal's like, you're in command now, Captain. A bit of a moment here. And they get this Klingon woman on the phone and she's speaking Klingon, but then they kind of do this transition where They change it back to standard so we can understand what's being said. And she, Klingon's like, why would I help you? She's like, because the honorable thing to do, basically. You're
True, but her speech wouldn't work on a Klingon. She's just like, because the Federation's a place for a bunch of misfits like us can all find a home and that sort of thing. And the Klingon would be like, I don't care,
most
we're gonna
Klingons would
conquer
not be
misfits."
swayed by this. Yes,
Yeah, I thought about
Yeah.
what a weird choice of person to reach out to. Like, I was confused about that.
yeah. But
Remind them
really,
of all the things they don't like about the Federation.
is that they're the island of misfit toys. Here's another Christmas reference.
Nice.
Yeah, but the battle here continuing. I was kind of surprised how long this was going on and how these ships were not destroying each other faster. But
Yeah, me too.
I was like, are they on low setting for their phasers and torpedoes? But it's bad. It's not great, but I'm like this. The fact that they have no shields means that this would be over even faster. Anyway, and then Klingon woman. I guess she's still trying to convince her here, right? Yeah. Jaemeel says noble effort.
She's like, that didn't work. That speech definitely didn't work on a Klingon.
Yeah. There's no way that got through to them. And then Gwyn and Dal hold hands here. There's kind of a moment. It's not a kiss, but it's a
Consolation prize.
Consolation prize. Friend zone.
Yeah.
And they're just watching this kind of go from bad to worse. As all hope seems lost, and we see here the Defiance coming along. Oh man.
Yeah, the Defiant. She's a tough little ship. Can take it.
Up little ship. Dauntless is getting beat up hard here. And then they see that this Akira class here is that Akira? I think it is about to hit them with a torpedo. Yeah, we even see the torpedo magazine comes out here. And they're about brace for impact. But just at the moment, this Klingon comes out of nowhere and saves the day and takes the hit, takes the torpedoes.
Whoever said there's not a Klingon around when you need one?
And she comes up. I'm here to help, and brought friends too. So we see the Klingon bird of prey. At first, it's the Klingon. She goes, "Is that a Klingon bird of prey?" And then the Vulcan ships,
the civilian ships.
Yeah, the Vulcan science ships and whatever. Cool to see those. We had seen one of those also in Star Trek Lower Decks in Wej-Douge. I don't know if it's the exact same class, but we know that they're still operating in this time. In this format, the Ferengi show up. Was there a prophet in this? Yeah, and I also liked here. He's like, oh, a Decora. Wow.
That's what I would have said too, Jankum.
Yeah, I was with you, Jankum.
Yeah.
Did I mishear? Does he say a Gorn ship shows up?
Yeah, he does say a Gorn.
Yeah, I don't know if I saw it or what.
Are they there to eat people?
This is some kind of ship here. I don't know what this is, but
that looks like a civilian transport.
It's not
he calls
a Starfleet
that something
ship.
else.
Yeah,
he mentions what that is. I think
he names off a few here. You're right, but it's mostly Klingon ships and a few Vulcans helping out here. And so they think that, hey, the day is won. We're gonna make it through this. But this keeps going and going, and this is where the USS Sovereign shows up. As I mentioned earlier, and then it becomes infected as well. It wasn't here initially. It showed up to answer the distress call, and then
I need the Ferengi to show up. I wonder. I'm gonna do it for free.
But one thing I did want to mention here about the Sovereign was the registry number. I presume that it was once NX 73811 because much like the USS Excelsior was the first of the Excelsior class, and it was NX 2000, but then became NCC 2000 later on.
That'll be a refit.
Yeah, a refit of sorts. Anyway, that's just if you're into Starfleet registry numbers. That's for you. There.
I'm confused. Why didn't the SOS receiving the SOS infect them?
Because it only affects Starfleet.
But
No. What it came there because it heard the SOS, but it
Yeah,
wasn't already infected. So I
in
guess the
theory,
SOS is not.
it should be infected when it shows up.
Oh, right.
But, yeah, I think they did that for dramatic effect.
Maybe they didn't get the SOS and they just saw a big shenanigans happening on their sensors. I guess you could.
Maybe
that.
it wasn't the SOS. They just showed up for other reasons, or they detected weapons fire, so they came to investigate, and maybe that was what it was. But yeah, it's not looking good. Hope seems lost, and they're getting beat up pretty hard here. Everybody. Even see here, yeah, this Klingon bird of prey.
Is it? Did it? Is it just being blown up, or is it actually? Because it looks like the fronts are come off a little.
No, they're dead. All those people are dead.
I hate that. I'm sorry. That is one of my most like thing in movies and thing is when you call for help and then they deliberately the only one that seems to be getting injured is the one who came to your aid.
Yes.
It's almost I swear it's like almost like TV and movies is like don't ever help anybody because it's gonna cost you.
Yeah, this is no good deed goes unpunished.
That's true.
Because why would the Klingon bird of prey get destroyed before they've destroyed each other? You know, that's kind of...
if they're taking fire, that makes sense because the birds of prey are way more brittle than Starfleet ships. They go down easy.
Yeah, like and we see the Defiant.
And their engineers suck, so they don't stop things from blowing up once they start blowing up.
They make bad engineers and bad doctors. We see here the Centaur, the USS. We even get we see here the US the name.
Yeah.
It is the Charlie Reynolds ship, the Centaur. You know.
Oh yeah, Charlie Reynolds.
Don't forget about Charlie Reynolds.
Swing for the fences.
Yeah. Oh, Charlie. See the Defiant there, still with its NX registry code in comparison to the Sovereign. So not an NCC. And so this is they're kind of like, uh-oh, what now? Everyone's dying. All right, that's our cliffhanger, guys, for this first part.
Tune in next week.
Tune in next week.
Trek. Same Trek time, same Trek channel.
Yes. Let's see if we can find any details to discover here beyond what we talked about. This episode.
I bet there is.
This episode features the appearance of several known starships, including the USS Defiant, USS Enterprise E. Was it? I didn't know that. I didn't see the Enterprise.
That was the E. One of those.
One of those
classes was the E.
Yeah, the USS Centaur.
That first one we saw, that one that was all darkened out.
That could have been the Enterprise. Yeah, the Enterprise E. Yeah, and as well as the USS Thunderchild. It also It also introduces and canonizes the formerly presumptive Sovereign-class prototype USS Sovereign, as mentioned. The arrival of the Ferengian Gorn ships to protect the Starfleet vessel indicates that as of 2384, the Ferengi Alliance and the Gorn hegemony officially consider themselves allied to the Federation.
Well, there's a comic book about that during the Dominion War. They send Picard to make peace with the Gorn.
Oh, yeah? In Star Trek Online, the Gorn have been conquered by the Klingons and have become part of the Klingon Empire.
I like that too.
Yeah. Janeway is released from her holding cell by a former Brunari. It's not Brunali, it's Brunari. Brunali was was Egypt's race, which also was like a weird nose looking alien species.
That's just kind of like the go-to, isn't it?
Yeah, we'll call them
Voyager.
We'll give them a weird nose and we'll call them Brunaki or something, and that will be that. So because we'll never see this alien again, probably. She saved from the Devore in Star Trek episode Counterpoint, as mentioned, one of Davin's favorite episodes. That's some cool facts and some interesting things. Of course, the death of the Diviner in this episode is also a big one. Let's get into our ratings and see how much did we really like this episode. Progeny.
My progeny.
Oh, excuse me while I have to add this to a row in the spreadsheet. Who wants to watch Dave do a spreadsheet? Okay. Supernova. You might?
Sure.
All right.
It must be excellent viewing.
It is.
Excellent.
Excellent. Okay, Supernova Part 1. What do you give this without seeing Part 2?
I have highs and lows for me. Like I'm tugging. I like the teamwork. I like to see how far they've come, but like also kind of certain annoying parts. I don't know. I just like I don't like the diviner storyline. That's kind of pulling it down for me. But
Yeah, I'm going 7.5. I didn't love it, so it's okay. It's serviceable. Davan, do you have a rating?
I'm gonna give it a 9. I loved all the ships.
Yeah, I
I loved the callback to Counterpoint. Those all
Yeah.
bump it up to a 9 for me.
All right, and Jessica?
I guess a 7.5. I liked the teamwork scene. That was good. I think that bumps it back up. I would have given it a 7 just because, and that's only because I don't know. I'm being harsh in the context of the show because I feel like they've been so good. I just feel like they've been so efficient with the writing to this point, and then the diviner storyline just seemed really sloppily ended. But they had been doing such a good job, so like that's why I was really disappointed because I felt like that was kind of a letdown.
Currently has a 9.3 rating on IMDb with 38 votes.
Wow.
So
Nice.
the audience is seemingly liking it.
It's the
as
ships and the Counterpoint.
The ships, more ships, all
More
ships.
ships. Maybe that's enough. Like I liked seeing the ships too, but I was also, the storyline was okay, but I felt like there'd be more.
It was just a lot that was sloppy. Like Essentia being able to call so many shots just didn't make sense. Like I don't know. It just
Didn't you guys think though that we were never going to see the living construct do anything nearly this crazy? So, like, I thought we were going to go through like a season or two, and they were going to finally figure out a way for the living construct to never really do anything. And boy, does it ever!
yeah, I guess I don't know. The other thing for me is just like I'm like, but all those people, like whatever conclusion comes next, like in reality, probably thousands of people have died. So I don't know. You can't really call it a win.
All those Klingons.
Yeah, and I know those Klingons like against Klingon nature came to help, and they just got blown up for it.
Maybe a few of them may do.
That's glorious death.
I
They're
guess
in Stovo Core.
They're in Stovo
Core.
Core.
Your pity.
Bringing honor to them. They brought honor to themselves by defending these Federation Pataks who couldn't, figure out computers.
Their families are better for their death.
Yeah.
Exactly. I hate that. It's one of my things I hate. Every horror movie when like a good Samaritan pops out and be like, "I'm gonna help you, young person," and then they just get stabbed through the heart. I'm like, "Oh, come on!"
That is a good throw.
That would be my greatest honor.
Just greatest honor, of course.
Oh, that would be my greatest honor, sir. Besides dying in battle, that would be my greatest honor.
That is not a death worthy of Stovicore.
Oh.
All right. Well, guys, so we'll wrap up for tonight. We'll be back in a week. I guess that will be December 29th. It's not quite into the new year, so we will finish this season in 2022. And in between we have Christmas and Boxing Day and all of these great holidays, and a snowstorm, perhaps Snowmageddon coming to Ontario. If you hadn't heard, Davan. So,
oh my, Snowmageddon, you say?
It doesn't even sound like Snowmageddon. It's more like I don't know. They're just throwing everything they've got at us. Here's some ice. Here's
some wind.
Here's some hurricane winds. Here's some snow, maybe.
Yeah, my Christmas party got canceled tomorrow night. So
I do not envy your Snowmageddon.
Yeah, so schools are canceled like preemptively. That's just how important this is. It's just,
yeah. My daughter's school got canceled, so missing out on a party with making cookies with my family. So
Newfoundland already they're Snowmageddon, so they're doing all right. But like it's been all over the news all day today. So this better be epic. This better be one to remember.
I hope not. I still want to have Christmas on Sunday, so I hope it recovers quickly. But we just seem to be surprised every time we get snow here.
Yeah, I was looking. I was looking at the map, and it was like it's basically affecting everywhere more so than where I live. It's like affecting like north, like more up in Kitchener and like in Wirecrafting, even down to like Niagara Falls. But where I am, so we'll see. But yeah, that's a little fun thing to note here.
So we're about to get attacked like all that Starfleet ships
We
facing
need
our own.
We are more likely to see in Prodigy. Who are we more likely to see in Prodigy? Harry Kim or Neelix? Is the question from Sam.
Oh, I hope not.
Say Harry
Neelix.
Kim.
No Neelix.
I'd be surprised
No.
if we don't see Harry Kim. In fact,
I think we're more likely to see Harry Kim. I don't need more Neelix. I've had my fill of Neelix. So
I can't. I just, as a kid, the whole Tess Neelix thing sat so icky with me that I just never got over it. And he always gave me like the creepiest vibes watching it as a kid. I was just like, ugh, I can't trust him. He's so gross.
Yeah.
super jealous too all the time.
Yeah.
All I can say is, wow!
Ugh.
He does have some good episodes, but
There was.
I couldn't get past that. I couldn't get
I
past
don't
the Kess stuff.
Once Cass leaves the show, it gets better because it's more in the rear view. But yeah, it's weird. So it didn't really work. Anyway, so will Garrett Wong do it? I think he'd do it. Yeah, I think Garrett,
sure he would. 100% he would. He's probably sent them letters.
Yeah, he's been in Star Trek Online. Check out Garrett Wong over there. Now Captain Harry Kim of the Rhode Island.
You can see him on TikTok right now. His wife keeps picking on him.
Tom Paris has become a captain also in Star Trek Online. Captain of the what's his ship called? I'm trying to remember. But
I feel like they should have all automatically got promoted for what like man, all like everything they went through. I feel like that it deserves a promotion. So
well, yeah, and so in the Star Trek Voyager novels, which are non-canonical, but everyone got like promoted 2 levels in rank. So like so Chakotay becomes captain. I think Tom Paris becomes his first officer, and there's some other stuff they did, but how much of that counts isn't quite clear. And then when we saw Tom Paris in Star Trek Lower Decks, I think he was now a lieutenant, a full lieutenant, because
he's a lieutenant because he is in that comic book we're reading too, and that's all good canon stuff.
And he had been like, but for 6 months he was demoted to ensign, and like it was always kind of like everything with Tom Paris, because when he starts off on the show, he's a convicted criminal. And he's not even allowed to, but they put him in a Starfleet uniform as an observer. So it's there's some weird things going on with Tom Paris. I digress. Anyway, let's get out of here. So Star Trek is what we do here on Live Long and Podcast. If you didn't
tell him he's a good cat and a pretty
he's a good cat and a pretty cat.
Oh,
yeah.
Spot.
Yeah.
What a boy. What a boy.
Like a
Say
spot.
bye.
Like, what's his name?
Anyway. That's Miles. He's named after Miles O'Brien.
Miles.
The greatest Starfleet officer in the history.
Starfleet.
Yep. Great, most important man in Starfleet history.
Yeah. Live Long and Podcast is our great network here where we talk about all kinds of Star Trek. We have our Command Division, which is what you're watching tonight, which is episode reviews. But we also have our Operations Division, which is our Gold Division. That's stuff like Star Trek Radio Theater, which we just recorded one on Friday, December 16th, almost 1 week ago. Davan and I and Jessica were all in it, and more of the group. Doing different voices, an edited version to follow. We also have our writers' room in the Operations Division where we come up with different.
It'll come back one day.
Episode ideas. We've done one of those, so check that out. And we also have our Science Division, which talks about. We have our debates and our trivia.
We launch probes.
When we launch probes into different places, you have to find out where they go.
Places.
Oh my!
Yeah. We collect data with these probes.
The locutors,
and then we talk about it.
Which is our 4th division, which is our bigger tail questions, our longer discussions and the long format.
Yeah, that's our long form Star Trek discussions, and the Treckletron, where we
the Treckletron, where we talk about comic books and different things.
I'll play with these toys sometimes.
That's a good suggestion by Sam. Actually, I like that, Davan. You should do that. Write a Star Trek Christmas special.
Maybe I will do that.
That would be fun. That would be never been done.
That is a good idea, Sam.
Yeah. Because Star Trek has been not very Christmassy in its history.
But it'll be a Lower Decks episode.
Well, that'd be good. I like that too. Of course, and then beyond that, guys, we have the United Federation of Podcasts, a network of podcasts, which has all kinds of great stuff. Like on tomorrow, KBBL, our Simpsons podcast with Davan and Francis and Baker. The extra B is for BYOBB. Tomorrow's episode is Bart the General, where he takes on.
You're joining us for that.
I might be now that my holiday party got canceled. So yeah. Like I always love that episode because especially the line where who's the guy with the one arm that runs the army? Herman, where he's like, we got these plans from the Franco-Prussian War, and it's like I was just like, it's such a weird reference, but like it's always interesting.
How many men do you have? Bart's like, none, sir. He's like, you'll need more.
You'll need more than none. So that's going on tomorrow night. Of course, there's the Supermator Brothers podcasting.
We are brothers!
Our coverage of season 43 of Survivor. Did all of those 13 episodes with Jaemeel and Jeff and Foster. Check out that. Plus, next week, I think on Tuesday, we're going to be starting our Mary Mater Marvel Society. Or I sometimes get that.
That's right.
I did get it right that time. We're going to be doing a year-end review, a MCU. We're going to be talking about Black Panther and the Guardians of the Galaxy Christmas special and Thor, Love and Thunder, and whatever else came out this year because we didn't keep up with it. We think Jaemeel might be joining us for that. Hoping he will next Tuesday. And then more in the network. The X-Men.
Yeah, Black Panther 2 I saw today. I cried like 4 times.
I can't. It's so hard. They're so long. I can't get babysitting for that long to see these movies.
It took me
anymore.
till today for that same reason.
Yeah.
This is I had to go by myself in the middle of the day.
I thought of that, but the problem is like I have to pick up my daughter at 3 before we had the other baby. But like the earliest showings are like noon, and like with Marvel movies, they go past 3 o'clock.
Like almost 3 hours.
Oh my god. Well, plus like 20 minutes of previews and
they were long.
Yeah.
It was driving me nuts.
Yeah. Sometimes it's not even worth
Avatar
going until 10 minutes after it starts. Yeah. The Avatar one alone would take forever.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I think I saw the Avatar trailer when I went to go see Black Panther, and that's all. They're fighting fish people who are blue.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's kind of
true.
Anyway, X-Rated, the X-Men, the animated review show, which just had a huge interview with Allison Seeley Smith, the voice of Storm. But
it was great. Very great.
Really enjoyable. And you're covering every episode of that show into season
taking
4.
a week off.
You're up, as is some of our other Star Trek podcasts, taking a week off. But yeah, and then the Graphics History podcast with Andre Mayette. Where he interviews different people, like people from the film industry, people from the graphic novels, and different writers. So check all that out. Hold Up, a movie podcast with Gavin and Murphy, just released this Christmas episode finally. The copyright issues were figured out. So
Gremlins.
Probably the most controversial podcast in the Empire.
Yes.
I do find it funny he had so many problems because like that's my family. Whenever something goes wrong in the house or something goes missing, we always go, "What's the Gremlins?" So that tracks with the having problems uploading.
Yeah, Gremlins in the Gremlins. And lastly, we have Trivial Debates, a monthly show. We argue about movies, TV, sports, and more. We just did our most recent one on December 17th. It was a Christmas theme. I was host. Davan was competing along with Max and Sterling. It was really fun. We talked about what's like the most timeless Star Trek movie that's going to endure, and what's
this was movie he meant to say, but
yeah, it was. You got to see the episode to know it all. But check that out. And we're gonna be doing another one, season 6, kicking off in January. We're gonna have Jaemeel hosting that one. We're gonna be doing a reality TV show theme, talking about Survivor, Big Brother, all those things you love, Sam. That we're gonna have a Trivial Debates dedicated to all that. So getting Foster involved. So that's gonna be a lot of fun. Hoping to get Tiffany involved in that. We're opening negotiations. So. To see if we can secure that. So anyway, that's all of the different podcasts in the Federation. If I haven't missed anything, I guess I did miss something. I missed the biggest one. The Hellbound podcast, a horror movie podcast. With Alex Blackburn, Michael Chan, usually on Wednesdays, where they talk about different horror movies and shows and interview directors. So that was that's great. All of our shows heading into 2023, guys, but we still got one left here on Prodigy before we get there. So Prodigy. Anyway, so we'll leave you here on a quote, a speech I pulled. It's a little bit long, but I think it's a fun one. And we'll see you next time for Supernova Part 2 and to finish up this season of Star Trek Prodigy. All right. See you next time, everyone. Thanks to Jessica and Davan and Michael and Sam in the comments and everybody else watching. See you next time. Merry Christmas.
Because in the infinite of space, everyone needs to know there is a place out there willing to accept us all, no matter how different we think we are. Without Starfleet, the Federation crumbles. And that dream dies with it. If they've ever helped you as they've helped us, then hear my words. Allies, civilians, outsiders, anyone. Starfleet needs you now, or it will not survive.